Thanks very much for coming in and talking to me. Thank you. Now, behind me is the phenomenon physicists call the electric honeycomb. It's been known about for decades, creating that distinctive, beautiful pattern. But my next guest did something no one has done before, which is to photograph the movement of the ions that created that stained glass effect. He's a 17-year-old student from Pakistan, and his work has just been published. Well, Shaheer Niazi joins me live now from Lahore, and congratulations. Welcome here to the programme. Now, listen. Your brain is bigger than mine, so in simple terms, just explain to me what you actually did and how you did it.
So the phenomena basically works like this, is that we have a needle electrode and a plate electrode, and we have a layer of oil on the plate. We pass a high voltage through the system, which creates ions at the needle point, which go towards the ground electrode to gain their electrons back. But since oil is not a conductor, the ions do not get the electrons back that easily. So an electrostatic pressure builds up on the layer of the oil, and soon a point reaches where the oil just moves away because of the pressure, and the ions ground at the plate. So what happens is that the oil does not like that it should be applied so much pressure on it. So everything in nature wants a state of equilibrium and stability. So what it does is that it creates these hexagonal patterns. The hexagon is basically the most stable structure in the universe, found in many other things even. So then the ions pass most efficiently over there to the plate, and the oil also is more stable and has less pressure on it. So what I did in the imaging technique,
well, that's what I want to ask you about the imaging technique, because I read you said that you included it, because you've been fooling around with it for a while, this technique, but you included it for the novelty factor. Did you think it might work?
Yeah. It was an experiment I wanted to do for a long time. It's called cleverest photography. It's called also dubbed as shadowgraphy. So I had the setup made, and I thought that why not put this setup in it, because we had the heat gradients related, which I also added in my paper. So I thought, because the method of photography was to measure heat waves basically. So I had an idea that maybe it will work, and when I actually put it in the system, it did actually show me the ions coming down in the form and heating up the residual heating up the air in the process.
And we're seeing that photograph. We're seeing that photograph on our screens. How exciting potentially is something like this? Because I read you mention biomedicines, printing. How can this be used, do you think?
Exactly, like in biomedicine, we can use this like to supply a drug into a human body and then take it to a target organ without having it spread all around the body. And then it's used in printing, as it can, like, you can control the spread of a droplet of oil using these electric fields.
Now, there was a lovely quote I read that you wrote. You made the point that Isaac Newton was 17 when his first paper was published. You were 16 when you actually got the letter of acceptance. I mean, you must feel terribly proud, both for yourself, for your country. You'd gone to this international competition to be published.
Yeah. Yeah, because like, it was my goal and my mother's goal. Like, it was her dream that I get my paper published at a young age, so that I can get this experience, that how research is like handled in the public, how it's handled out there in the real world. So it was like quite an experience for me, when it was quite like, it's just like when a researcher and his research is the research is like the researcher's child. So having it accepted is like having his child praised. So it's like quite a feeling to have.
Have you always experimented? I read that by the time you were 11, you were doing online courses because you found classroom work rather boring.
Yeah, because like we had to doing all the revision and everything, so like you're studying the same thing over and over again for some time. So your mind wants to do something else. It wants to do something ahead of what you're already doing. And I've had this drive in me since an early age. It was installed in me from my parents. They always used to tell me, think 100 steps ahead of others, and only then can you succeed.
Well, Shaheer Niazi, thank you so much for taking time to speak to us on today's Global. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Well, he received that letter of acceptance.